Hey guys, welcome to our weekly news show here on Backstage with Millionaires. I'm Caleb, your host, and today we're going to be talking about Chinese money laundering through India's largest crypto exchange, the first official drone deliveries in India, which started on Friday, another PhonePe lawsuit, this time against Indus OS's investors, Byju's replacing Paytm as India's most valuable startup, the country's latest unicorn, and more coming up right after this. All right, so first up in the news, it looks like drone deliveries here in India are finally starting to actually happen. There's a consortium being led by Throttle Aerospace Systems, which on Friday, the 18th of June, started a trial run of medical deliveries by drone in a town about 80 kilometers outside of Bengaluru called Gauribidanar. And I'm really sorry if any of you are actually from that town. I'm sure I'm butchering the name. Please forgive me. Now, I'm sure some of you are already down in the comments telling me that this is not the first time that drone deliveries have taken place in India. And I do know that there have been a couple of instances over the years. For example, in 2014, Francesco's Pizzeria in Mumbai was delivering pizza, but these are DGCA approved trials. And it's not just Throttle Aerospace Systems. There's a number of consortiums and companies that have been given approval to conduct these trials. And it's happening because the government is actually drafting policies for the future use of drones for deliveries here in India. I also think it's worth mentioning that this consortium actually received approval for these trials back in 2020. But because of the pandemic, things got delayed until today. But now they're working with a company called Narayana Health to deliver medicine using what they've called medcopters. These medcopters come in two varieties. There's a variety that can carry 1 kilogram worth of medicine for about 15 kilometers, and there's another variety which can carry 2 kilos of medicine for 12 kilometers. Now, besides Throttle Aerospace Systems, it looks like Dunzo's drone partner Sky Air Mobility is also going to start delivering medicine very soon, as they've received approval for trials from the Telangana government. Then we've also got Swiggy with their drone partner, Anura Technologies. So there's a lot going on right now when it comes to drone delivery here in India. All right, next up in the news, it looks like PhonePe's acquisition of Indus OS, which has their own app store called App Bazaar with more than 400,000 apps across 12 Indian languages, has gotten significantly more complicated and messy. So if you'll remember, a couple of weeks back, we talked about how PhonePe was looking to acquire a majority stake in Indus OS at a valuation of $60 million. Now, it looks like PhonePe has been able to acquire a 30% stake at this valuation. But what we didn't mention in the previous video where we discussed this topic is that Indus OS has another investor called Afel Global. Or maybe it's Affle Global, I'm not sure, but they acquired a 23% stake in Indus OS some time back at a valuation of $90 million. So the fact that PhonePe is now offering Indus OS a valuation of $60 million doesn't sit well with them, and they're taking action. Now, a little disclaimer for you guys before we jump in, legal battles like these tend to be confusing, but I'll do my best to explain it to you as I've understood it. So Afel or Affle is filing a case against Indus OS. They believe that they had the right to first refusal on the shares that the founders of Indus OS sold to PhonePe. Now, it's not entirely clear to me whether or not the founders of Indus OS were actually going behind Affle's back or not. Both Affle and PhonePe have skin in the game, so it's hard to know who to believe here. PhonePe is claiming that what Affle is doing is an unfortunate bad faith stalling tactic, and so as a result, they are also suing Affle in Singapore, which is where Affle is located, along with Venture East. Now, Venture East is another one of Indus OS's investors, and according to PhonePe, Venture East has been engaging with them in a way which was deceptive, and they've been doing this in an effort to stall their deal with Indus OS. So while Venture East has been engaging with PhonePe, ostensibly as one of Indus OS's investors, The reality was that Venture East had actually sold their stake to Apple. However, it looks like PhonePe wasn't aware of this, and possibly because Apple and Venture East didn't want anybody to be aware of it, but that's why PhonePe is suing Venture East, claiming that they've been deceptive. Now, obviously, this situation will continue to evolve and change over time, so we'll keep you guys posted, but for now, I'm curious to know what you guys think. Are Indus OS and PhonePe in the wrong, or should the blame be placed on Venture East and Apple? Let me know what your thoughts are in a comment down below. All right, next up in the news, India's Financial Investigation Enforcement Directorate is seeking an explanation from WazirX and its directors for transactions totaling 2,971 crore rupees. So of this 2,971 crore rupees, 57 crore rupees, according to the Enforcement Directorate, was laundered by Chinese people who were running betting apps. And they were able to do this, again, according to the Enforcement Directorate, because WazirX failed to carry out proper KYC. So what these betting apps did was they transferred this money into WazirX, then they converted it into Tether tokens, and then they sent those Tether tokens over to their Binance wallet. And Binance, by the way, is the world's largest crypto trading platform, and they actually acquired WazirX back in 2019. Now, so far, according to WazirX's co-founder and CEO Nishal Shetty, the company has not received a show cause notice from the Enforcement Directorate, but he did say that the company would be fully complying with the investigation. All right, moving on to some acquisition news now. Health and fitness startup CultFit has acquired home fitness startup Tread, which builds smart fitness bikes that you can use at home. CultFit is going to be integrating these smart fitness bikes into their digital interactive content ecosystem as they continue to build out their at-home fitness category. All right, next up in the acquisition news, lock screen content discovery unicorn Glance has acquired social e-commerce startup Shop 101. Glance is going to be leveraging its short video platform Raposo alongside Shop 101's e-commerce capabilities to launch influencer and celebrity-led live commerce on their platform. Now, live commerce still isn't really a thing here in India, but it makes up 20% of all of the e-commerce sales in China. And so Glance is looking at what's going on in the Chinese market and seeing it as an opportunity and something that they can potentially bring to the Indian market with this acquisition. All right, moving on to some funding news now. You might have already heard about this, but Byju has raised $350 million at a $16.5 billion valuation, which means that they're more valuable than Paytm, which is valued at $16 billion. In fact, this makes them the most valuable Indian startup. Now, it looks like for the most part, they're going to be using these fresh funds to pursue inorganic growth opportunities, which means that they're going to be acquiring more edtech companies both in India and the United States. All right, next up in the funding news, app and website testing platform BrowserStack has raised $200 million at a $4 billion valuation, making them India's most valuable SaaS startup. It also makes them a unicorn, and it makes them more valuable than India's second most valuable SaaS startup, Freshworks. So this funding round was led by Bond Capital, but if you're curious to know what BrowserStack actually does, they enable developers of websites and apps and software to test these things out in the cloud on virtual devices and virtual browsers and virtual configurations. There's more than 2,000 of these virtual devices that developers can use. The startup achieved profitability in 2018, and they're currently being used by more than 50,000 customers around the world, most of which are based out of the United States. They're going to be using these fresh funds to pursue inorganic growth opportunities. All right, next up in the funding news, AI startup Vianai Systems has raised $140 million from SoftBank's Vision Fund 2. This is a 2-year-old startup that was founded by the former CEO of Infosys, Vishal Sikka, who had a falling out with the board members and founders of Infosys and decided to start his own venture. Now, admittedly, we don't know a whole lot yet about Vianai Systems besides the fact that they're building a human-centered AI platform to help businesses make better decisions, but I think the fact that SoftBank has invested in them should give us some hope that what they've got planned is pretty big. All right, next up in the funding news, professional networking and job search platform for blue-collar workers Apna has raised $70 million in a funding round led by Insight Partners and Tiger Global Management at a valuation of $570 million, which is 5 times more than the valuation that they had 3 months ago. So the startup was founded in 2019, and they currently have a presence across 14 cities with more than 10 million users. They're going to be using these fresh funds to expand across India and also potentially expand internationally as well. Besides this, they're also going to be using some of these funds to build more value-adding services like career counseling and a resume builder. All right, that is all the startup news that I have for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, as always, it really helps us out when you hit the like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, now would be a great time to do so. We post new videos every single week about Indian startups, entrepreneurs, and the latest news. Also, as usual, big thanks to all of our Backstage with Millionaires members, our unicorns, and our decacorns. We've been working our way towards this for quite a while now, and you guys, our members, as well as everybody who's been applauding our videos recently, have been a big part of making this happen. We're planning to post 2 full-length videos every single week moving forward. This is a big deal for us, and there might be a couple of hiccups for the first month or 2, but this is our plan, and we're serious about it, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys. So again, big thanks. We're trying to make the best videos that we possibly can here, and we're trying to make them reliably and consistently. But even if you can't afford to financially support what we do here at Backstage with Millionaires, just the fact that you've made it this far in the video is plenty of help. So thank you for watching this episode of Backstage with Millionaires, and I will see you in the next one.